I do not think we have seen as big of a 180 in content creation with any other creator as we have with Joe Bartolozzi. This man started off on TikTok yelling at people for repairing stuff with ramen.
Okay, they're missing a tile, and they decide to fill the spot with ramen. My one question to you is, why not just get another tile, bro?
And has now amassed over 1 million followers on multiple different YouTube accounts, all following different types of content. He makes videos over gaming, reacts, philosophy. He does so much shit and so many different forms of media. He also does vlogging along with his sit down at the desk streaming type of stuff. So in this video, basically what we're going to do is go through and talk about how he was able to do this, how he has been able to amass such a following despite starting off with such a small gimmick like so many other creators do. Many creators start off with a small gimmick, and it's their way to rise to fame. Joe Bartolozzi, his was that he was the angry TikTok guy who wore a beanie and was usually shirtless for some reason. This guy first started to blow up back in like 2020, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember for sure, but I've been watching him pretty much since the start of his content creation journey, back when he made those really cringy videos, even before his angry ones. I'm pretty sure I had seen his videos. And so, once he'd cemented himself as a TikTok creator and gained, a couple million followers and was known as the angry guy who wore a beanie and yelled at people, then he started to branch out. After this, he started to go to, I believe, some YouTube stuff, but he mostly did streaming, and he's talked about it in multiple videos. When he first started streaming, pretty much all he would do was stream Rocket League for a couple hours every day. That's what he would do. He didn't really branch out. He didn't do anything crazy with his content. That was what he was. He was the angry guy on TikTok who also happened to stream, but he just streamed Rocket League. Kind of a weird combo, but that's what he did. But one of the interesting things about Joe is that he had such a recognizable image, and you see this with other content creators. One I like to talk about a lot that's one of my favorites is Jay Schlatt. Jay Schlatt's a very recognizable figure. Even if you don't necessarily watch him, so many people know who he is because he has an interesting look. He has mutton chops and he always wears a Yankees hat. Well, now a Mets hat if you've been watching his newer videos, but basically he just is a very recognizable persona. Joe Bartolozzi feels the same way. Very strong jawline, very unique face that I feel like everybody recognizes. Not in a bad way, he's a mogger, but people recognize him. And so, once he started to kind of separate himself from TikTok and start to switch over to mostly long form media, well, long form, I'm talking 10 to 20 minute YouTube videos, some longer if they're like VODs and stuff like that, but switches over to YouTube, people can recognize him and be like, oh yeah, that's that guy from TikTok, let me watch and see what he's doing. And he has been able to continue to grow and grow and grow to now he's at the point where when he uploads any kind of video, it feels like he's almost guaranteed to have a certain set amount of views because people recognize him and want to watch him stuff. He is now at that higher level that you don't see from smaller TikTokers who just have one gimmick and that's what they're known for. Some examples of that would be like Carter Folian, the guy who's just known for saying, what the fuck?
So I just found out what's going on over in England right now, and all I gotta say is,
what the fuck?
Like that guy, he has his one thing. I think he's trying to do other stuff. I mean, I don't see him anywhere. Another example would be like Big Justice and those guys. I feel like they kind of blew up a couple years back and they've been around, but I feel like they haven't really expanded or became prominent social media figures aside from short form stuff where they might have sponsorships and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's the guy who talked about double chunk chocolate cookie.
So I said, I'm Big Justice and this is the Big Sloppy. And then...
But Joe Bartolozzi is basically what every small form content creator eventually wants to become. He went from just being the guy who was known for being angry to becoming a multi-platform, extremely successful, prominent, and recognizable figure. And another thing about his content that I feel makes him stand out compared to other people is that he is absolutely 100% authentic. He might exaggerate some stuff just for his streams, and I kind of talked about that in an old video that I made about him and Queso, but he's very authentic on his streams. He's not going to change his takes for his audience because Joe Bartolozzi has one of the worst Twitch chats of all time. Everybody knows this. This is basic ball knowledge. Everybody talks about this all the time on TikTok. He has one of, if not the worst Twitch chat, especially for his takes and his personality. Joe Bart is a very left-leaning person, and his chat is mostly comprised of insecure 12-year-old boys. So when Joe Bartolozzi says something like, yeah, I shave my armpits, his chat immediately is like,
oh my god, you're femboy maxing. Why do you do that, Joe? That's so gay.
And it's just so upsetting because Joe is a fairly intellectual guy. Despite him getting his rise from being angry and yelling at his camera,
perfectly shadowed word left out. Fuck!
he does like to talk about more meaningful things, and that's another reason I say he has one of the biggest 180s in content creation because he literally went from screaming at his camera because people were fixing stuff with ramen to talking about what's the meaning of life, what comes after we die, all these extremely heavy philosophical topics. It's just such a crazy switch that you wouldn't expect and would almost never get from half of these other content creators. And what I want to kind of end off this video here talking about is I'm very curious to see where his content creation career is going to continue to go to, because he is such an interesting figure compared to these other guys. He's not like Jinxie, he's not like Speed, he's not like those other guys who it seems like they want to continue biggering and biggering and biggering. It feels like he's kind of at a point where he's happy with where he's at, and like he's kind of just doing what he wants to. So I feel like we're going to start to get some very interesting content, and we're going to see a very different, maybe, progression from him over the years compared to other content creators. Maybe kind of almost closer to an old school YouTuber, like you would see with Dan TDM, Good Mythical Morning, Smosh, maybe those types of things. Because after a while doing the same stuff, you will get bored of it, and you'll want to change your content and branch out to other stuff, and that's perfectly normal. Also, every time I talk about a content creator, I do want to throw this in there just in case my videos are coming off like this. These are not parasocial relationships. I do not view these people as my friends. You should not either. I believe that is becoming a real problem in our modern content creation space, and that's where you get a lot of crazy fans, is they think they have a genuine connection with you, and it's very one-sided. The viewer does not know me, I do not know the viewer, we do not know each other, we are not friends. You might feel a connection to my content, and if you do, I appreciate that. Thank you for watching very much. But you do not know me the same way I do not know Joe. I look up to him and I admire him, but he is not my friend. I do not know him. So with that being said, thank you for watching. I would really appreciate if you'd leave a comment down below letting me know who your favorite content creators are, or what you think about this whole thing with Joe Bartolozzi if you've gotten to watch his rise to fame over the years. But I think that's gonna about do it, so we'll see you in the next video.